School of Education, we use the Harvard system of referencing, and it's really important that you get this right. Essentially, in this system, sources in the body of the essay are quickly acknowledged in brackets, and the really detailed information about your source is put in the bibliography. So when you're citing, you're either directly quoting from a text, in which case you'll need to follow this rule, and this means that you put the author, the date, and the page number, just like this. The author first, with a little comma, the date with a colon, and then the page number with no PP. If you're merely paraphrasing, you don't need the page number, so you just cite the text like this, Smith 2003. And the following list suggests when you might paraphrase. You might be referring to the school of thought, or summarising a chapter, or summarising an idea, or even a whole book. When you want to say what book you've read in your bibliography, again, there are some really clear and explicit rules around how you do that. You start with the surname, comma, then the initial of the author, then in brackets the year. If it's the title of a book, you put the title in italics, comma, then no more italics, you put the place of publication, then a colon, and then the publisher. So these are the rules for the bibliography when you want to show us what books you've read in your bibliography. Now this next section is merely building on the previous section. We're still talking about citing books, but sometimes books are written by more than one author, and so the rules change slightly. If you do have a book that's been written by two authors, then you'd cite them like this. Chazan and Lang, comma, that's the year that it was published, and if it's a direct quotation, remember, you need to include the page number. If you're merely paraphrasing, you would just say Chazan and Lang, 1982. Similar rules apply in your bibliography. You just cite the two names at the beginning and then follow the rules that we've just been through. Now if you have three or more authors, you move into the et al. So you don't say Goodman and Jones and Chang, you would say Goodman et al. And again, the same basic rules apply to the year and the page number, and the same rules apply as to whether you're citing verbatim or paraphrasing. So hopefully these ideas are starting to become familiar now. So secondary referencing is slightly more complicated. If you've been reading a book and somebody has referred to somebody else's work, for example, Dolowitz has written a book and they've been reading themselves Stone. So Dolowitz has cited Stone and you think, oh, I really like the Stone stuff, so I want to cite that myself. So this is how you do it. You say Stone, comma, 2004, cited in Dolowitz. And then the same referencing rules apply because you've got the page number there. You do this because Stone's work is cited in Dolowitz, so Stone's name comes first as it's Stone's work that you're referring to, even though you read about it in Dolowitz. If you're paraphrasing secondary references, again the logic starts to become clear. You just put Stone, 2004, cited in Dolowitz et al. Because you're paraphrasing, you don't need the colon with the page number. In your bibliography, you should only cite the book that you have actually read, so you can't put Stone in your bibliography, but I could find the Stone reference because you've told me all about the Dolowitz book. Now the rules for citing ebooks in your essay follow exactly the rules for citing other books in the body of your essay. However, there are slightly different rules for your bibliography. So in the bibliography, because it's an ebook, you need to include the availability, and that's how you put it. And then you also tell us when you last accessed this text online so that we can see that it's been relatively recently accessed. When you're citing web pages, you do also follow the rules for citing a book, but sometimes web pages aren't authored, and therefore you need to use the corporate author instead. This might be the NSPCC, for example, or the TDA. So it is then acceptable to put these organisations as the author, but only if the website itself is unauthored. Then you follow the same rules with date, page number if you're specifically referring to a page. If there's no clear date on the website, then you can write no date. And if there's no clear page number, then you don't need to include a page number. So here's an example of how to cite a website or a web page in your bibliography. So say it's not authored, but the corporate author is the NSPCC. You'd write NSP, then in brackets 2009, and then this is the title of the web page in italics. So here we are, it's NSPCC Response to 21st Century Schools, a world-class education for every child. And then you put available at with the full web address, and as I was saying earlier, when you cite a web address, you have to say when it's last been accessed. When you're citing journal articles, in the main body of your essay, the rules are just the same as they are for citing a book. However, there are important differences in your bibliography. So when you're writing about a journal article in your bibliography, rather than the book title, which is in italics, you put the journal title in inverted commas, and then you put the title of the journal in italics. So here's an example to make it a little bit clearer. So here we are, the title of the journal article is in inverted commas, and the actual journal title is in italics. If you would like to include references to TV programmes, you can do this, and this part of the referencing guide sets out how you do it. I'll just talk through the example. Say you've watched Planet Earth by David Attenborough. You would cite the title of the series, the year that it was made, the name of the particular programme. You tell me that it's a TV programme by putting that in square brackets, and then you'd show me where it was made, who made it, and a little bit like the last accessed, you would tell me when the first TV transmission was. Further guidance can be found on the Library Skills Moodle site, and there is also a little bit more guidance in our course booklets about how you present your essays. Good luck with your referencing. It's really, really important that you follow the details and get the little things like the colons, commas, italics and inverted commas right. So do just use the referencing guide and do a little bit of a spot the difference when you're finishing your essay to check that your referencing is as accurate as possible. It's all about care and attention to detail.